Good morning, everybody. Curtis Wilkerson here with Inside Arkansas and the pod at the Palace. Man, I kind of missed some basketball. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm ready for a game. We're only halfway through the week, though. Saturday is coming soon. This is one way to get folks excited about North Carolina A&T coming to town over Christmas break when families are getting ready to travel. Students are off campus. We'll see what that atmosphere is looking like. But I know I'm going to be excited to get back out there and see these dudes play. But we've been mixing it up with some different stuff so far this week. And like I told you yesterday, I had something a little bit different planned for today. And what I did is I went back through a ton of those preseason mailbag episodes. You guys remember those because you're the ones that facilitated them. You asked me questions and I answered them every single day. And I got to thinking about it. And I was like, man, wonder how stupid I sounded with some of my hot takes in the preseason. Now that we've got a little body of work here, 11 games into the year. So we're going to do a little bit of a progress report and see where all those things stand. Listen, when you talk about this team in front of a camera on a microphone every day, the receipts are always there. Like I can't escape any allegations here. I'm not going to hide from it. It's accountability session day here at Inside Arkansas. So should be fun. Just got a handful of things I want to run through. And obviously the jury's still out. They're not even halfway through the season, but we'll see if, where I'm tracking to maybe come across as a genius and where I'm tracking to come across as an idiot. And there's a little bit of both I've learned. My top concerns, I was asked about that a few times. Like are there any red flags? Like if there are reasons why Arkansas might not be as good as they're projected to be, what would they be? Really for me, there were kind of three things, and it was to a degree, 3-point shooting, depth, and then just like will Coach Cal change his stripes, like in terms of adapting, changing the way he does some things. And so again, like the jury's still out on all of those. With the 3-point shooting, for me, I've always said with this group that I was more worried about volume than I was percentage. I feel like this Arkansas team was going to shoot a better percentage from three than they have in past years under Eric Musselman. I just didn't know how much volume was going to be there. And that's been a big part of the issue the last few years where they're making like 5.5, 6 threes a game. That's tough to overcome unless you were like those Musselman squads where you get high FTAs to kind of make up for it. And so in a way, I'm kind of right, but it's been better, I think, than I anticipated. Honestly, Arkansas is shooting over 37% from three. These guys can shoot it. They can. I mean, that's really good. I mean, you're damn near 40% at this stage of the season, especially with the way they started. In the first couple games of the year, exhibitions weren't good, but then the first 2 or 3 games, they really struggled from three as well. But they're making over 8 threes a game. That's good. That's fine. That's a healthy number. It's not going to knock your socks off. It's not like the Alabamas of the world. But they also don't attempt as many. And it's just a weird part about John Calipari's philosophy where basketball is trending towards teams taking 30 to 40 threes a game. You're going to see Arkansas take 20 to 23, 24 usually. And my thought process has always been, hey, that's fine as long as you make over 35% of them. And Arkansas is doing that right now. So they have kind of quelled that concern for me. Shooting 37% with over 8 makes per game. Good. Yeah, man, I'll take that. Keep that up. The depth, yeah, I think that was a valid concern. And, for me, it was always twofold. It was if you're only going to have these 9 guys, you got to have 9 healthy ones, right? And they just haven't had that. And it's been across the board, man, aside from the freshmen, really. Dude Thero missed some time in the preseason, and then he's been sick. Big Z was in a boot for a while over the summer, and then he turned his ankle, and he's been dealing with that. Jonas Adu's just now getting back. Trevor Brazile rolled his ankle in one of those early games and missed a couple weeks. John L. Davis was in a cast or a splint or whatever on his wrist, missed a bunch of the preseason. He's just now kind of starting to round out into a picture of the form that we thought he would be. So that's been a big problem, for Arkansas. And then in turn, the other thing was, did you hit on everybody, right? Like, where are your evaluations sound? You can't afford to have misses, guys who are bust, guys who aren't ready, whatever. For the most part, I think they've been okay there. Like, you probably expected more from John L. Davis at this point, but he's been fine. I mean, you look at it now, 11 games in, he's almost averaging double figures. You hope that continues to go up. Guys settle into their own roles and different rates, but you're not getting quite as much from him that you thought you would, but you're getting more from guys like Thero, Boogie Fland, whoever. to where it kind of balances out a little bit. So that's working out okay. I thought they'd get more from Carter Knox than they have. And he's shown some signs of life lately, but Billy Richmond has been better than advertised. So they're starting to figure it out. But boy, when you get into this gauntlet of SEC play, they've got to have all 9 guys and they've got to be healthy. And they're getting closer. The hope is that with 2 games in 2 weeks, that you can really kind of get this team to full strength before they get into SEC play. And the other thing with Cal, just kind of adapting. A lot of people say, hey, is the game passed him by? He's too stubborn. He's stuck in his ways. And yeah, I mean, they're running back the hits a little bit with some of the things they do in the half-court offense, although it has gotten better. His disdain for relying on the 3, which we talked about, which he kind of came up off of that last year. They still didn't shoot a ton last year, actually, at Kentucky. They just shot it really, really well, which is sort of what Arkansas is doing right now on a little bit more of a micro level. The struggles with pick and roll defense, they're still really trying to figure that out. Although what I will say is I don't want to talk about that too much right now because the jury's still out. We know how much Jonas Adu impacts things defensively. So how does this pick and roll defense look moving forward with your all SEC post player back in the mix, right? We'll see about all that. But so far, I think, some of the concerns maybe I had coming into the year, some of them valid, some of them have been quelled a little bit. Now, I had 5 bold predictions that I did going into the season. Now, the operative word here is bold, okay? Like thinking outside the box. I'm not going to do anything that's obvious. You want to get a little bit creative with it, right? And these are interesting, a little bit up and down here. So the first one I had was that Arkansas will go undefeated at Bud Walton Arena, right? They're undefeated right now. Now they haven't faced anybody in there. Here's the thing. I really thought this would be a year where Arkansas could get that done, and maybe they still do. But the schedule, even though we knew the SEC was going to be really good, looks so much more daunting right now than it did, in the preseason because like your first 2 SEC home games, you still got 2 home games in non-league play with North Carolina A&T and Oakland. Should handle your business in there. But looking at it now, it's like, man, your first 2 home games in SEC play, it's going to be, an Ole Miss team that's highly ranked already, a Florida team that is ranked and undefeated. Going into the year, I was thinking, both of those teams are probably bubblish type squads. Arkansas should be able to handle that at home. That ain't going to be easy, man, especially when you're coming off a road trip to Tennessee. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Arkansas wound up dropping one of those games there. You hope they don't because, like I said, I predict this every single year that Arkansas is going to go undefeated at Bud Walton because I feel like they should in that building. But, man, it's going to be tough on them this year. If they do it, they really freaking earned it this season. Then you got Georgia, who's been better than anticipated. Oklahoma, undefeated and ranked. Alabama, we know how good they are. LSU, yeah, okay. They've had some moments, but I think they're probably about what we thought they would be. Missouri's been a little bit better so far, but outside of that Kansas game, man, they haven't played anybody. Texas hasn't been quite as impressive as people thought they would be. That certainly feels very gettable. And then Mississippi State at home, and they've been playing really, really well. But it's not going to be as I'm not saying it was a sure thing, but I felt pretty decent about it going into this year. And now I look at the schedule and I'm like, man, this is gonna be tough on them. The other bold prediction I had was that Big Z would outscore Jonas Adu in points per game this season. Now he's doing that right now. He's damn near got him doubled up. So in a way, I feel pretty good about that. Here's the thing, though. Is Z's kind of trending in a downward direction. He's coming off that ankle injury, and Jonas Adu, his stock it's really on the rise, right? So this is going to start balancing out here pretty quick. And we'll see how it winds up. Now, I think there's room for both of these guys to be, near double digit scorers. Big Z kind of is right now. I think he's like 9.9, 9.8 points per game. Adu's points per game right now are skewed a little bit because he had a handful of games where he played like 4 minutes, right? Just trying to get him a little bit of cardio in there. So that drags that down. But the last couple of games, he's been in double figures, starting to look pretty good. I think, throughout SEC play, you can pretty much pencil him in for double digits. I'm anxious to see how that turns out because I do think Arkansas still needs the 3-point shooting from Z. And here's the thing, there's room for both of these guys, right? On this team, kind of splitting the load at the 5. I don't think it's going to be a 20-minute split. I think Adu's got to get, he's got to be in there 25 minutes or so per game. But we know that Z is a guy who can give you some really good production in shorter spurts. And so he's playing 15 minutes per game. Can he maximize it? I think he probably can. I might still wind up getting that one at the end of the year, but it's gonna be a tight one. We'll see. My third one. Hey, listen, I was just wrong. Okay, I said Carter Knox would be SEC Freshman of the Year. Now I said that back when he committed to Arkansas, I think in April, and I've been bullish on it, and I stuck with it. And when I did the bold predictions mailbag, it was like right after the Kansas exhibition. I was like, hey, I might have picked the wrong freshman because Boogie Flan's looking really, really good. He's got a really good case to get it. Now, LeBaron Filan at Alabama is in there. Trey Johnson is in there at Texas. Pettiford at Auburn. I mean, there's some really good freshmen out there. Boogie Flan's as good as any of them. Carter is not going to win SEC Frosh of the Year unless he just goes absolutely nuts in SEC play. But I do think he's going to become an improved version of himself. He's been showing signs of life here lately. The Maryland Eastern Shore game, whatever, is what it is. I thought he looked pretty solid against UCA. Thought he had some good moments against Michigan in the minutes that he had. Arkansas is going to need to get, I think 12 to 15 minutes per game out of him. And he's got to be a guy who can provide some scoring pop off the bench for him. Needs to be better from three. I think he's like 7 of 29 or something from three right now. He's a better shooter than that. So has to get some confidence there. He'll get better. He ain't going to win SEC Freshman of the Year. So I'll take the L on that one. The one that I won't take an L on, I'll pat myself on the back a little bit for, I said that Arkansas would have a leading scorer this season, not named John L. Davis, who was the #1 transfer portal prospect in the country, and a guy who averaged nearly 20 points per game last season on a really good FAU team. I mean, he would have to go on an absolute tear. I guess it's still within the realm of possibility, but you look at it right now, and like Adu Thero is doubling him up in points per game. Boogie Flan's averaging like 7 more points per game. I think, let me actually pull up the stats real quick and see where Nelly is. He is 5th on the team in scoring. Now, 9.2 points per game, and we've seen the uptick lately. He's still been efficient. I mean, 46% from the field, 38% from three, 88% from the free throw line. So, like, we were talking about him potentially being could he be a 50, 40, 90 type of guy because he's been so efficient? Yeah, he could. He's just not shooting it as much as we expected him to. I still wish that he would get up into double-digit shots per game. John Calipari said after the UCA game, he was like, listen, I told Nelly and DJ Wagner that they both have to be double-digit scorers for us. Like, we need double figures out of both of them, and I think they can give you that consistently. DJ's averaging 10.1 points per game right now, but I do think, or at least I hope, that as the season progresses, that Nelly starts taking, instead of 6, 7 shots per game, let's get you up to 9, 10, 11. I mean, I think it can make a world of difference because he is efficient. And when he takes them, it usually goes in. So, but it looks like Thero or Boogie is probably your odds-on favorite to be the leading scorer. The last one that I had, we'll see. I said Arkansas would only lose back-to-back games one time this season. They haven't done it yet, and there's no reason why they should have done it yet. The only time I think you could have looked at it was, let's see. They had the Illinois and Miami. Would have been an opportunity for them to have it, but they wound up winning that game against Miami there. And, we don't have to go through the entire gauntlet there in the SEC, but like this league is going to get 11, 12 teams in the NCAA tournament. I mean, it's every stinking night. You're playing a really good opponent. So if they only lose back-to-backs once in SEC play, that means things really clicked and they started to figure it out. I think going into the preseason, I might have had Arkansas like 22, 23 wins. I think Andrew had them 13-5 in SEC, and I had them 12-6. We're going to run it back with our SEC specific predictions once non-conference play is over on the 30th. But I can tell you right now, like, my expectations are going to be a little bit lower, I think, for Arkansas and SEC play. Not necessarily because I'm lower on Arkansas. I'm just higher on the SEC. I knew the league was going to be good and deep. I didn't know it was going to be this good. I don't think anybody did. I mean, they're teetering on, if things hold up, being the best performance by a power conference in the history of college basketball. It's insane. So if I was at 12-6 before, yeah, I mean, I might reevaluate and go to 10-8. But guess what? 10-8 is an absolute lock for the NCAA tournament and a top 6, 7 seed in the dance. I mean, that's just kind of where you're at. There are going to be teams in the SEC, that go 8-10, and they'll finish lower in the SEC than they'll be seeded in the NCAA tournament. Like whoever's freaking 10th in the SEC, they could be an 8 or 9 seed in the NCAA tournament. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It reminds me of like the way, and Calipari's mentioned this too, like SEC baseball at times, how ridiculous it is. So we'll see. Just real quick here, and then we'll get out of here. Some of the other, I guess, responses or hot takes I had to your questions in the preseason that I want to check in on. I remember having one that was like, if Arkansas was to lead the country in a statistic, just one stat on the box score, what would it be? And I settled on block shots. Now, we got to point out here that Jonas Adu, who's probably your best shot blocker, he hasn't been available for a majority of the season. Big Z has been in and out with that ankle. Trevin missed some time. Like, the guys who usually block the shots for you haven't all been available at once. However, Arkansas's 15th nationally in block percentage, 33rd in blocks per game. So will they get all the way to the top of the country? Maybe not, but could they wind up leading the SEC in league play at full strength? Maybe so. So I don't think that was a crazy one. They're pretty solid in terms of their rim protection so far this year. So maybe not right, but wasn't crazy. Just looking at some of the other stats, like, you know, Arkansas is 6th in the country in fewest free throws allowed. Does that count? If they get there, what I will say is they don't really foul. I mean, 14.2 fouls per game. It's top 20 in the country in fewest fouls per game. That's a good problem to have, like defending without fouling and being able to protect the rim and force a high amount of turnovers. That's why you look at Arkansas on, you know, like Ken Palm or whatever, and they're top 25 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency. That's how you do that. And then you hold teams under 30% from three. Like, Arkansas has their holes defensively, which are pick and roll defense. It leads to some other things, but for the most part, they're pretty solid on that end of the floor, and they're starting to come around a little bit offensively. I think my non-conference prediction, as a matter of fact, I know it was 11-2. Had them splitting those four, I don't know, marquee game, Power 4 games, whatever you want to call them, with Baylor, Illinois, Miami, and Michigan. They've done that, so if they avoid a slip up against North Carolina A&T or Oakland, should be able to nail that one. Hey, if you get 11-2, you got to feel pretty good, I think, about where you're at going into this conference slate. So, thinking about some things that maybe I just didn't anticipate. I definitely didn't anticipate John L. Davis just being like a 3-and-D sniper. Klay Thompson, as Andrew Ellis likes to call him. With really nothing in between. And that's what I want to see. I'm happy with the 3-point volume from Nelly. Really happy with what he's doing on the defensive end of the floor. He has some games where he has high assists, needs to cut down the turnovers a little bit, rebounds well at his position. He's doing a lot of really good things. There's just no in between with his offensive game. I know how good he is in the mid-range. He seems really hesitant. How often, think about this for a minute, how many times have you seen John L. Davis kind of turn the corner and get to the nail, like the free throw line, into the paint, and then turn it over, right? He's kind of leaves his feet, doesn't know where to go, gets careless with it. At Florida Atlantic, that was an automatic pull-up jumper, 12 to 15 feet, bang, knocking that thing down. If he just brings that part of his game back, takes 2 or 3 of those a night, then all of a sudden you're talking about a guy who's averaging 13, 14 points per game. And doing all these other things for you. So there's still room for improvement there. So far, it's kind of been 3 or transition layup or nothing on the offensive end. And I know he doesn't have the ball in his hands as much as some of these other guys. It's gotten better in terms of not going 6, 7 possessions without him getting a touch. But still, there's some room for growth. And I hope that we see that, but I definitely didn't expect it. I was big on the, hey, DJ Wagner's going to be a better 3-point shooter than people are anticipating train. Listen, he shot 28% from 3 last year. I was thinking, hey, this is a dude that can get to 32, 33% on, about a make per game. I didn't know that he was going to become 3J Wagner. I didn't know that he was going to become a sniper. What a great development for Arkansas. I mean, you look at it, they played 11 games. He's made 15 of 36 threes, 41% 3-point shooter. That'll play. That works over a make per game. So he's tracking towards 40 to 45 made 3-pointers this season. If he gives you that, I mean, that's a bonus, man. That's cherry on top kind of stuff. Is he going to continue to shoot at 40%? I don't know. But what I will say is if he continues to have the type of shot selection from 3 that we've been seeing, he might. because it's been a lot of catch and shoots, wide open looks, not doing so much of the, dancing with you and then pulling up off the dribble, contested threes, some of the things we saw in exhibition play and early in the year where you're like, could probably do without that. The selection has been really, really good. Therefore, the percentage has been better. I think when all is said and done, he's going to wind up giving you probably 35 to 43s. And I bet he still shoots it over 35% from this Arkansas team. And that's more than you, I think, could have asked for coming into the season. So that's been a positive development for sure. Adu Thero, like I expected him to take a step forward for Arkansas. Thought he would kind of still be that Swiss Army knife, the versatile defender, does a little bit of everything, impacts the game in ways beyond the box score. And he does. I did not anticipate him being your best player. His offensive explosion has been incredible to see. 18 points per game. He's doing it so efficiently, 61% from the field, and he's still not making threes. I mean, 5 of 21, he's only shooting 23% from three. A guy who is, over 70% free throw shooter in his career, only 67%. So, like you look at his numbers right now, and I like to think, okay, even if he just gets back to his career norms, I think he's a 32% three-point shooter. So you could still see an uptick there. He could get better at the free throw line. So if you're wondering, is it going to hold up in terms of his points per game? He might become a little bit less effective around the rim, but he should have some progression to the mean in some of those other areas. So yeah, maybe it will. But man, talk about a positive development there. Your leading scorer also leads the team in steals, just doing some great things there for Arkansas. We were seeing those, end of the first round draft projections for him. It's like, hey, if it clicks, he can get there. I mean, he's working his way into the lottery discussion. So, I mean, a hell of a job from Adu Thero. Hopefully he's getting over that sickness and back to full strength before they play on Saturday. Hey, Trevin Brazil, like we just put out the video on him yesterday. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you check it out. But got to be pretty pleased. That's one thing I did do was kind of call for Cal to unlock Trevin Brazil's full potential. And so far, so good. He's trending in that direction. Long way to go. Got to stay healthy. He's also, already had that ankle sprain that cost him a little bit of time there. But yeah, just a refreshing new attitude from him and playing hard, more physicality, more aggression, and playing within himself, kind of embracing his role. So some good things there. So there you have it. Some ups and downs. All right. So some of my hot takes were a little bit too hot, a little bit too spicy. And hey, I'll eat my words for that. That's okay. But it looks like we're kind of on track to being right about a handful of these things. So good times, fun times. And we'll turn the page tomorrow to get back to a little bit of game prep because we're getting closer and closer to seeing the Razorbacks back out there at Bud Walton Arena. And I can't wait. But appreciate you guys for tuning in as always and indulging me on a little bit of a longer episode. But hey, we got so much time between basketball games. We got to talk about something, right? So make sure you get tapped in, subscribe to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel. Check out InsideArkansas.com. I'll be back in the morning. Everybody have a good day.